So this week, we're talking about Christ, the Good Shepherd, the ways in which Christ has shepherded us, and the ways in which Christ, who shepherds his people. And I can think of no better way to begin a remembrance of Christ, the Good Shepherd, than with a reading of the Shepherd's Psalm. Join me for Psalm 23. You've heard me read this before, haven't you? Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you're with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me. In the presence of mine enemies, you anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. We're talking about shepherds this week. We're going to play with the experience of shepherding, but in order to play with the experience of shepherding, I feel like we need to change the animal a little bit. You know, sheep in the ancient Near East were a common animal. They would be raised by individual families. They would live in the house as often as not. You wouldn't have a stable or somewhere else to keep sheep. You would have, 2 or 3 sheep, and you'd pull them into the house at night. And so, really the best comparison isn't to a modern-day shepherd, although there are some modern-day shepherds who still keep a large flock of sheep in much the way they did in the ancient world. But I think a more apt comparison is actually to our pets. So I have a dog, and my wife for a little while had a dog sitting business where she actually took care of groups of dogs and would walk them and care for them, pay attention to their needs, provide for their food, keep them safe. And that's maybe a more relatable experience of shepherding than what we would have paying attention strictly to sheep. And so you'll see images of all sorts of animals. So let's begin in John chapter 10, verses 11 to 21. Again, I encourage you to turn in your own Bibles just as I'm turning in mine. I'm trying to be intentional about not picking the perfect page before I even begin, to kind of give you the same time it takes me to turn to John chapter 10, verse 11. I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. The hired hand runs away because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. I'm the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, for they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason, the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it up again. I received this command from my Father. Again, the Jews were divided because of these words. Many of them were saying, "He has a demon and is out of his mind. Why listen to him?" Others were saying, "These are not the words of one who has a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind. What does it mean? What's the significance? What is Jesus talking about? He's the shepherd, not the hired hand. And the hired hand runs when the wolf comes, but he lays down his life for the sheep. But then what happens to the sheep? It can be almost too much, which is why you always see when we deal with these I am statements, people saying, what? This is big brain stuff, you know? This is, and not that it's like complex college education level stuff. No, this is like abstract thinking. It's a different kind of thinking than we might get used to reading something like the letters of Paul. And so one of the best responses we can take is to play. And that's what I want to do. So I have a special guest theologian here, and I'm going to pan. You can see, my lighting setup and so on. There he is. Hey, boy. Now, this is Obi-Wan, and he is here in his natural habitat, which is to be very relaxed. Obi doesn't burn any calories that he doesn't need to burn, but he recognizes his name. Yeah, look at that tail. Good boy. Who's a good boy, Obi? Who's it? Here, you want to come here? Come on. We got to get you on the camera. Obi doesn't, he's a good theologian, but he doesn't know much about how cameras work. Hey, come on. Let the people see you, boy. Let the people see you. Yeah. So, the relationship that the shepherd has in John 10 is a relationship of familiarity. It's a relationship of being one's own. The importance of being the right kind of shepherd is the kind of shepherd that the sheep recognize the voice. So I think dog is the right place to go with this, because Obi recognizes when I say his name, and we recognize when the Savior says our name. But I want to show you something kind of strange, something that sticks out to me about the way Obi interacts. Yeah. You see the way he follows me? He wants to be where I am. But check this out. See if we'll open up a little bit. And he's happy now. But watch when I take this out. I don't like to call myself a dog owner. I don't know what you think about that, but I prefer calling myself a human. Obi's my dog and I'm his human. That's what we are. Obi, oh, that's a jump. That's a jump, that is. But look at how happy he is to be tied up. Would you be this happy if you saw somebody who was going to tie something around your neck? Obi does. Why is that? Well, there's a theological foundation for it. the law of God, when we're connected to our shepherd, we're connected to our person, our caregiver, we feel safe. We feel paradoxically free. We want that leash. We want that connection to our person, to our shepherd. Because when we're connected to our person, we're safe. It keeps us from going too far out of bounds. Keeps us from moving past where it's safe for us to move. And because it makes us safe, it then helps us to go on adventures. So Obi knows that when the leash comes out, it's time for a walk. See, because he's safe, he's connected, he has a relationship to me, and he has a relationship to safety, and that means that we get to leave the house. Now, Obi's not in a familiar place. He's here in the comfort room. It's an unusual place, but it doesn't matter because the leash has become synonymous with good things for him. Isn't that right, boy? Isn't that right? Good boy. Good boy, Obi. Good boy, Obi. Good boy, Obi. Wherever you go then, go with confidence that you are guided, that you are cared for by the Good Shepherd. And therefore, you can be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.